Okay, we're here talking with Ken Murtagh today. Pleased to have you, Ken.
Thank you for inviting me. This is awesome.
It's just my pleasure. Could you give us a little of your background, maybe?
I'm. I don't know if it's anybody's aware of it by now. I've been here for a long time, but I was born back east. I'm from New Jersey. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and lived there till I was in fifth grade. We moved from there. We were there because my dad was a New Jersey fireman and had to have naturally a residence in Newark, so that's where we were. And we moved down to the what they call the shore. It was Central Jersey, beautiful country, beautiful area. And I had four brothers and a sister. I'm the middle of the four boys. My two older brothers joined the Air Force, and the route I was taking when I got out of high school, I graduated in 1966 from a small high school in Central Jersey. Brick High School is the name of it. And I graduated in June, joined the service in August, and went for my basic training. Then I was stationed in Eglin Air Force Base in Florida.
Where'd you take basic training, Ken?
I had basic training in San Antonio.
Well, that's a toasty.
Phew, baby, that was something. Even in November, it was hot.
And the humidity, that's
Oh,
terrible.
it was definitely memorable. As many years ago as it was, and it's still memorable. And then from there, I went to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. I went as a motion picture lab technician, it sounds like an elaborate job. There were 4 or 5 trailers. You mix the chemicals, you do all of this stuff. The airplanes that had the sortie cameras on them would take film, they would send it to us and would process it. Well, there took about 10 or 15 of us from the same area and said, we got a surprise for you. We're going to train you to do something else. Okay, what might that be? Photographers. So I became a motion picture photographer and didn't know why I was going through training, all of that stuff. Florida at that time of year was a perfect place. They were getting me ready for Vietnam, and I didn't realize it. I found out naturally, the way all of us find out. And I went over and, like I said, joined in 66 for the 68 Tet Offensive. I was in Vietnam. I was in Da Nang. Went over as a cameraman. We had a crew. It was just almost like you would picture it in a movie. There was the huge truck that had like the tent on it. There was a Jeep, helicopter, and what we would do was other branches of the service would call, and they would say, for instance, Hill 22 in Phu Bai. There's going to be some stuff going on there we need to know. Well, we would have motion picture cameras and still cameras, and we would go and we would film the area. They needed to see what it looked like for an ambush, for things like that, the way it was all set up. So it had to be pretty intricate photos, and it had to cover quite a wide span. That's why they had some of the stills and the motion picture camera. And after everything was done, we would have to go back and see how it was left. You would have to show after it was done how it was left, so that in case there was another attack there or if something else should happen there, we didn't miss anything, everything was fine, or we didn't leave anything that they might be interested in. anything like that. So it was a pretty intricate thing.
So you went from pretty much photo recon to after action
Exactly. It
data,
was
so that they could have everything
right. It was quite
pre
interesting.
and post operational type
Yeah.
information.
And it was nice because I think we were probably the only group that got to interact like that with the Marines, with the Army, and it was nice to actually see, like they say, they naturally call the Air Force the club,
Yeah. Now,
Said you guys
how
are
many,
in the club.
How many personnel was in your unit that did that?
We had a total of 15. 12 actually worked. There was a driver of the truck and a driver of the Jeep. And when I would say, as for instance, when I would be through shooting with my camera, I wouldn't have to reload it. I would put it down and there'd be another one loaded and I would just take it. That's what the Jeep and the truck did. The truck supplied all the equipment and the Jeep would have loaded cameras for the still guys, because that split second that it might take for you to
Sure. You could miss
do the
something.
camera and things, you miss something or whatever. And it was just nice to keep our concentration and our focus on what we were
Absolutely.
doing.
Now, your motion picture cameras, were those like 8 millimeters? Or?
Yes, yes, everything was back in that day, everything was, and they were processed right on site where we were. We had they called where we lived Tent City. It was like just big tents, and they were building prefab barracks. And as they were building them, they had a huge warehouse where we had all our equipment stored, the chemicals that you mix, everything like that. So, each department had a separate thing. It was the 25th Tactical Fighter Squadron is what I was in, and it was quite interesting.
Now, where was that base?
That was in Da Nang.
In Da Nang. Okay.
Yeah, Da Nang.
Did
And
you spend most of your time there in Vietnam in that, or did you go to other
Da
satellites?
Nang is where we were, and actually what we would do is we would go in the morning. About 100 yards down the road was a huge, what they called the flight line. It was just a huge concrete area, and each group would meet, regardless of what your job was, for what you had to do that day. So they would say, okay, you're going to be gone for a day. Make sure you have everything. This is where you're going. And our group, everything would be loaded up for us. Everything would be ready for us. We would just take our personal belongings and we would be transported in the big truck to wherever we were going. Sometimes if it was a longer way and we needed to get there as quick as possible, we would be helicoptered there or something like that. But normally the crew that had all the film cameras, surplus cameras, got there just before we did, naturally. And they would find a secure spot and a secluded spot that they thought would be good for us to set. That's why the helicopter would go first.
Sure.
And it would
Check things out.
find the area.
Sure.
Okay, there's a good place to set up. So, it might be like they would get there 2 a.m. and we would get there maybe noon. And by that time, everything would be set up ready for us, and we'd try to get in and out as quick as we could.
Now, did the Air Force supply your security? You had, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, the Air. Okay.
Yes, there was ground support naturally, and there was a M60 machine gun in the helicopter, and there was a mate in it that manned it 24/7 constantly. Whenever we were out, there was always air and ground support
So yeah, that's
protection.
sky cap and
Yes.
ground security.
Yes. And that was interesting because naturally it was nothing I had expected. I mean,
Sure.
my oldest brother was in the Air Force for 4 years and stayed stateside. The brother just older than me between us was in the service, stateside most of the time. I went to Turkey. And there was security police in Turkey, and it was a lucrative position, but it was more like embassy work and
Sure.
stuff like that he could do. And it was very interesting because they extended me for 3 extra months in Vietnam. Naturally, like they do, oh, we're not ready yet. Your replacement isn't quite ready.
Sure.
So they guaranteed me when I left Vietnam and came stateside, I could have any base I chose. I only had 9 months left in the service. And they said, we'll send you anywhere you want. Being from New Jersey, I chose McGuire in New Jersey, Plattsburgh in New York,
Sure.
and a base in D.C. I said, that's close enough for me that I could do whatever I want. My last 9 months would be fun. So I wound up being sent to Nellis in Las Vegas.
Last
The
time I checked,
military.
that wasn't in New Jersey.
The military. It started with an N. They thought they had it. You know what I
I
mean?
thought they were going to send you like to Nome, Alaska or something. Well, it sounds like
Really.
New Jersey.
You know, and so anyway, I was naturally not very happy with the situation.
No.
But the greatest thing in the world happened. I met my wife in Nevada.
Wow.
So I got lucky. I met a wonderful woman from Washington State, and through her I became the better person that I am. It wound up that my story is funny. We were back in New Jersey. She agreed to move back to New Jersey with me, and we were back there, and we had a son, and he was born in New Jersey. And it just wasn't going to work out. A country girl from Washington,
Right.
especially Wenatchee, her folks had an orchard up Squilchuck. Now,
That's my neighborhood.
exactly. That's, exactly what she wasn't expecting in New Jersey,
Yeah.
And I saw the path I was heading down, staying back there. And it wasn't a very healthy one, and it wouldn't have been very conducive for a family.
Sure.
So we chose to come here, and we left in 1972 in December. Not the best decision I ever made in my life. It happened to be the worst winter ever. So we owned a 1972 Dodge van, 2-wheel drive,
Oh, no.
nothing at all in it. We put curtains in it. My parents set up a thing through AAA where it gave us the route and everything like that. And it was perfect. Situation was perfect. We're driving, we leave New Jersey.
Life
Bye-bye,
was good.
everything is fine, this is wonderful. We get to, I'll never forget it, as long as I live, it's so long ago. We get to Elyria, Ohio. And there are big signs, road closed, danger, don't travel. Buses off the road, trucks off the road. It was the worst winter that they ever had. And naturally, my 2-wheel drive van, with me driving from the Jersey Shore, they get a little bit of snow, the windows get frosted, and they call it off. They call everything off for the day. They take a snow day if there's frost on your windows. This is the snow that I'm used to driving in.
Right.
So we go off the road in Elyria, Ohio. And I look at my wife and I said, I'm sorry, sweetheart, this is where we live. I'm not moving. I'm not going another mile.
That was the closest one that
I
you were getting.
cannot. This is it. This is the end. The next day, she says, I can drive. I said, are you sure? She gets in the van, drives us all the way up. Next thing I know, we're pulling in an orchard up at Squilchuck. And the greatest thing in the world, her parents were wonderful folks. They had a cherry orchard up Squilchuck. I don't know anything from orchards. I'm from New Jersey. I get out of our car, and I see these small, beautiful small trees in this orchard. They weren't small trees, they were big trees, and the snow was up to here on me. I'm in waist deep snow
Especially if school check.
of Squilchuck, and I'm saying, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
This is amazing. I went from that to this. It wound up being the best move I ever made, and I made some wonderful, wonderful friends here, some great relationships, some good things have happened. I have a beautiful family. I have a son and a daughter. I have 2 wonderful, wonderful grandkids. 3, as a matter of fact, and I have 2 great grandkids. Life is good.
Yeah,
Life is
that's
very,
great.
very good.
Yeah.
I have a few health issues, and there are a few issues where, there have been some strife and some questions family-wise, but other than that, I wouldn't change a thing that I've done. And like they say, everything that is negative, something good comes out of it.
Absolutely.
I was so angry with my choice going to Nevada, to Nellis. My job there was going to be take pictures of dependents so that they can have an ID card. You go from Vietnam to there, and it's supposed to be the same, and I'm
That's
supposed
black
to
and
be,
white there.
and I'm supposed to be fine about it with no qualms or questions at all. Amazing, but anyway, I couldn't change anything. I've made some very, very, very good friends, good relationships since I've been involved with the veterans. I've met some wonderful people, you, Mark Harley, everybody, Tony Sandoval, just made my life so much easier
There are some
and
wonderful
so
people
much
here,
better.
aren't
Everything that I've gone through, my health isn't the best. My wife is in a facility after 54 years of marriage, not being apart a single day.
there? It's different.
That is very, very difficult. It's very tough to handle. But like I say, I have a fantastic support family-wise. I have great friend support with my friends. I have good people like you to let me share it. There's nothing more I could ask for. I tell everybody life is good. My family got to come out and visit me.
I understand
no
where you're
questions.
coming from there, Ken. My wife and I have 51 years.
Isn't it
I
amazing?
mean, and it's a blessing.
You
Every
find
day.
the right one, and it's a gift.
And I'm only here because of the grace of God and my wife,
There it is. That's me.
And so, yeah, there's a blessing. There's a blessing to be had
There
even on
is.
the darkest of days. So,
As dim as it looks.
yeah, and
Things are great.
Just sitting down with you, Ken, and having this conversation is a blessing. I enjoy it. Anytime I could sit down with a veteran and just have an informal just conversation. I love to listen. I love to hear people talk about, their lives and their military history. And a lot of them, they'll touch on the military history. Yeah, this happened, this I went in, this okay, and that, and then I got out and my life began again. And I've heard some sad things, but then, just like you said, out of darkness comes light.
Exactly.
And they said at the time you're just going, oh man, what have I done? I know I can just see you chest deep in snow going school check. Going, oh man,
What am I doing here?
what am I want to go back to Jersey.
My first visit to Washington State, where we were from. Honestly, I mean, the naivety that we had. You think that you hear Washington and you say, gosh, that's cold, 24. It's almost like Alaska, you think, And you come out here and you see, and on my way out here, it's so gorgeous and so beautiful. And the great country. And then you find out, but it's like I said to my dad came out one year, And it's amazing. We were driving up Squilchuck, and he looked across, and he saw the beautiful mountain, and he said, you know, if this was in New Jersey, they would put a tunnel through that. He said,
Yeah, 8 lanes.
no one might ever use it, but they would put a tunnel through it just because it was there. And that's what I like about this area
Yep.
and this part of the country. They let nature take its course, and we have such beautiful, beautiful country. Everybody that comes out from my family says how gorgeous it is and how beautiful it is. And it's such a misconception of what we have here compared to everybody's idea of what it is. You know, it's
You
amazing.
know, and I hear it from people that aren't from here. They come here when they were young, like you did and everything. I said, you know, I was needing some healing. When I came here and I saw the blue sky and the mountains and the streams and the fish and
Yep.
the animals and everything, and just getting out, it was the best therapy for me. You know, you get out there with the peace and the quiet, and you feel that inner peace just from the earth and just the natural world.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
No concrete buildings, no people telling you what to do or this or that, and you're just going, this is good. This is what it's all about.
Right.
This is the big picture.
And it's nice because when we got here, it was like for apple blossom, they used to have the ridge to river.
Yeah.
And I said, where can you snow ski and water ski in the same day?
And swim in the river.
And
kayak,
it's so beautiful. And to have that at our fingertips it's a blessing in itself. It really is. And I mean, what more could you ask for you, especially going through a tough time and a rough time? It's almost like coming here is therapeutic, just the fact that you're here. And I mean, I came with nothing. I had no job. My father-in-law worked at Alcoa.
Mm-hmm.
I came here with aspirations of following in his footsteps, getting a job at Alcoa, and I was ready. I put in my application, everything was ready, and they said to me, okay, come in Monday morning and start. I get there, and they say to me, sorry, you can't work. Physically, your back is, you have a bad back. You can't work here. So I said, okay. And I said, but had a family. I was determined to find a job. My first encounter was, I would go to the unemployment office. It was right down on the south end.
Yeah, by the park there.
Right. I would go down to the unemployment office every day with a sack lunch. And I would sit in there, and I would eat my lunch at lunchtime, everything. And every day they would come up to me and say, why are you here every day? You're going to have a job, and I'm going to take it. They said, as a matter of fact, we have one here in Kashmir, working at Blue Star Growers in Kashmir. I said, mark me down. Have no idea where it is. My wife drives me out there, shows me where it is. We find it. I get out. I go in and I meet this gentleman, very nice man, still remember his name. Sherm Coates was his name. Mm-hmm. I walk in, I meet him. He says to me, do you know anything about segregating? Now, he's looking at a guy from New Jersey. He said to me, do you know anything about segregating? Mm-hmm. I said, yes. I said, you try to separate the blacks and the whites, you mix them gradually, you mix nationalities and ethnicities and things like that. He laughed and he said, you got a sense of humor. I like you. Go out on the line and start working. I had no idea what the number on the box meant.
Well, yeah, not being
on a fruit box.
Sure.
And we're loading boxcars, and I'm putting everything in the wrong place. So I go home after my first week without a paycheck. And my wife goes, what happened to your paycheck? I said, every day I had to take these guys to lunch or pay them because they're showing me how to do the job, showing me what to do. After a while, I got to do it. It was a wonderful job. It got my foot in the door. From there, my wife and I started working for Barden Brothers. That was an interesting
what did
job.
you do for Barden?
I worked as an irrigator for Barden's. It was wonderful. They give us a house up Fairview Canyon. My wife and I were
Yeah.
in a great place. And again, kid from New Jersey. What do you irrigate in New Jersey? Nothing. An orchard girl. I would drive the Jeep. She would get out and change the pipes. They said to me every morning we would meet. Doc Barden or the foreman would say, "Wonderful job. Irrigation looks great, Ken. Keep it up." One morning my wife couldn't go with me. I had no idea. It took me 2 hours over.
Yeah.
I had everything done wrong. What's the problem here? Why wasn't it working? So we made some amends and made some changes, and my job changed a little, but he was fortunate. He was nice enough to keep me employed. From there, I went again. I was physically unable to work at Alcoa, so I got a job with the city as a trash collector.
City Wenatchee.
Yes, lifting those heavy garbage cans, carrying them. From there, it went on to dependable disposal, where you could go any county, city, anywhere, and you could go back. People would, they were able, if they wanted to pay to keep their garbage up in the backyard, sunken in the ground, and 150 feet away, we'll pay the extra. Let the guy come back and get it. Instead of making 3 trips, you put it all in this one huge can we had, and we would go dump it. Funniest story I had, driving down the street, and early in the morning, I would always stop at a certain place and run the truck and just to get out and stretch my legs. So I'd go to the back of the truck and run the hydraulics, and it would push all the garbage up to the front. And it was around time kids were going to school. One young man comes out. Oh, young man, maybe 8, 10 years old. And every day I would let him run the back of the truck. And he thought that was the greatest thrill in the world. His dad comes out one day and says to me, now his dad was a doctor in town. His dad comes out to me one day and says, you know, he said, at school they asked my son what he wanted to be when he grew up. He said, a garbage man. They said, why do you want to be a garbage man? He said, they only work 1 day a week. He only saw me 1 day a week.
He was focused on that
Exactly.
1 day, so
That, to me, that was the greatest. I'll never forget
that's a
that.
bingo there.
Yeah, that's it. Kid says, they only work 1 day a week. I said, what an interesting thought, but woke us to an 8, 10-year-old kid's mind. You know, that's
Well,
it.
I mean, you're going to get the truth from the kid.
Exactly.
That's exactly. Yep.
It's exactly what he was thinking and exactly what
That
the
is so
perception
cool.
he had. That's just
so
one of
cool.
the funniest things.
So, after your stint there, Wenatchee, did you go into something else again, or did you stay there with Wenatchee?
I did. I couldn't. I ended my trash collecting career because I had an injury. So, again, I was blessed, and I got a job at Wenatchee High School. The gentleman, Dennis Bowles, at the time was vice principal,
I had his kids on my school bus.
hired me, and owed a man everything I
He's great.
had there. He
great
was a
person.
great guy. And I worked at in the pseudo special ed department.
Mm-hmm.
It was with a wonderful lady. I still remember her name. Lopushinsky was the
I know her
teacher's
too.
name.
Yeah.
And we had a program that was study skills. And we had some needy kids and some kids that were slow learners or needed a little
Sure. A little inspiration.
push in the pants or something,
yeah.
and a little spinterella is what we called
There
it.
we go.
Give them one of those. So we would have some of the students that everyone looked up to. Football players, ag kids, from every walk of life, and some of the best personalities as well as good students. And our classroom was right by the library, so we would take them out, sit at a big table, have them all work together. These kids thought they were the greatest in the world. They were with this guy, and the kids were so wonderful to them,
Made a big
and
deal.
everything worked out so well. That program got absorbed by the special ed department. At that time, I wasn't able to continue doing that.
Now, what time frame was that, Ken, that you worked up?
86, I got hired in the summer of 86 as a driver's ed assistant.
You know, Ken, I probably saw you because I was still driving the school bus till 88.
I sat in the back seat and took notes.
Lord have mercy.
Can you believe this? And so that was another story I have about my driver's license here. So I got that job. When that was absorbed by the special ed department, I went into security. And I did security at the school, and I worked a little with the athletics, made some great friends, wonderful people I met, a lot of relationships I still had. I had to retire in 2002 because of a health problem. Happened to be through my time in Vietnam. I got a little problem I had that I acquired when I was over there, and a little problem in my noggin that, we all kind of seem to have.
Okay.
Now and then it flares its ugly head and makes us people we're not supposed to be and don't want to be.
Sure.
So that worked out to where after I retired from that, I still continued my relationship with the school, which I still have today. I announce baseball games. I absolutely love that. I work some basketball and some baseball games. I have a good partner that works with me. We've been together for about 20 years.
Wow.
So it's very comfortable. He's an asset to me, helps me out. And it's funny because in order to continue my employment in Washington, I had to have a Washington driver's license. I had a New Jersey license. It didn't even have a picture back in those days. It was just a piece of paper.
Right.
Anybody could have one. You could make one in a minute. So never in my life, I'm driving with an instructor, never in my life that I know that you could make a right on a red light. Who ever heard of this? Nobody ever makes a right on a red light. They just don't do that in New Jersey. Could you imagine a place like New Jersey making a free right? It'd be shootings in the middle of the street.
There we go.
It's crazy. So anyway, I was very comfortable with it. I'd pull up. I had a German Shepherd. We had to take the dog with me because my wife was working. Nobody was at the house. So I had the dog on the back seat of the van that I owned. I still owned that van at the time. And I'm driving, so they say, make a free right. This is wonderful. I made a free right. I come to the next stop. Nothing's coming, so I make a free left. The instructor says, what did you just do? I said, I made a free turn on the stop. Nothing was coming. You can't make a left. I could make a right, but not a left. What?
People in Washington are strange.
Can you understand my thought? What's going on here? Why would I do this? So that was my first faux pas. Then we're driving down the street, and he says, okay, I need you to pull up and back into this alley. So I back in the alley. As I'm pulling out, he says, when you get to the end, I need you to hit your brakes. It's an emergency stop. I do, and my dog comes flying up to the front. A 90-pound German Shepherd comes flying up to the front. Grrr. So I'm thinking, I'm not going to get my license here.
Not today.
I can't walk picking up garbage. What's going to happen? So it wound up, I got lucky. I got my license, my Washington license. Then I was able, after I had it, I was able to get the rest that I needed, the combination and all that I needed to to haul the garbage, but a free right, but not a free left. It's amazing. You had to figure the first time I'm making a free right. Someone says, go on, if nothing's coming, turn on the light.
Sure.
I did. Happened to be turn left.
What's the difference between right and left? I mean,
It was an
That's
amazing
crazy, isn't it,
experience.
Ken?
Yeah, amazing experience. It was onto a one-way street. I didn't think I could get hurt myself, but still couldn't do it.
I'm sure the instructor's eyes got a little bit bigger.
Yeah, he never had experienced anything like that.
Oh, man.
I'm sure. So
Oh,
it was interesting. It was
That's
very
great.
interesting.
Great. So, never ended up in Alcoa, and that might have been a blessing in disguise.
Could have
Yeah.
been because of all
But,
the great things that happened to me because of it.
And only great people. I know.
Oh, and the wonderful relationships with the school district.
Yeah, yeah.
What an awesome thing. And it's funny, every member of my family at one time or another worked at Wenatchee in the Wenatchee district and went to Eastmont.
Really?
We live on the east side, so my kids all went to Eastmont, grandkids went to Eastmont, everybody, and everyone worked at Wenatchee. My son, as a matter of fact, still does. He's a custodian at Washington Elementary. Absolutely loves it. Wonderful folks.
That's great.
Yeah, my daughter had a daycare in the beginning at Lewis and Clark, which was a good thing. And my
Another good
wife
school.
cooked at Orchard and at the high school.
You know, I believe I met your wife at Orchard because that was one of the schools that I serviced. I did Sunny Slope,
Yep.
Orchard, and
Yep.
high school. And the kids invited me in there one day. Said, "Why don't you come to lunch?" Yeah, okay. You know, lunch at the high school, and you know,
Oh, yeah.
Wenatchee High
Oh,
School
yeah.
was like it was an experience. I said,
Exactly.
Yeah. And hey, it was good chow. It was good chow. I said, you guys need to invite me a little more often.
Really, this is
okay,
good.
you know?
Like the bus driver day, right?
Yeah, I just parked the big old yellow beast outside and went in and had me a little chow and come back. I was feeling much better.
Nice.
But, well, that's great, Ken. Gus, anything else you'd like to chat about, or
I have some issues, that I would like to share, but I don't know if I could.
and that's perfectly understandable.
I have a very, very, very serious time tough time talking about a lot of it. But I feel very, very blessed with everything that's happened to me. Like I say, great family, awesome friends, relationships everywhere I went, positive relationships from each job. Worked for a couple fruit houses, worked for Sino Nursery. That was a wonderful experience, working for those folks. The Snyders are the greatest people in the world.
Yeah, they are.
Every one of them. Never met one that I didn't absolutely love and got along great with. And the dependable disposal, the very beginning, was good to me. They treated me very well. The folks at the city, and then when it became the conglomeration that it is now, it was start out being dependable. Then I think it was Bayside. I left, I think it was still Bayside when I left. Waste management became
Sure.
the biggest thing, and now I guess they're everywhere. You don't have too much trash without somehow being, and it's
There's
like
always
you
trash.
say, everybody, it's the greatest job in the world, because how many people are going to piss off their garbage man,
Not me.
I mean,
It's kind of like the plumber.
that's it.
They're always talking about high tech and everything, but
Yep.
those IT people, they don't fix your sink when it leaks or your toilet when it's plugged. They
And
don't-
garbage starts to stink after a while,
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, people go, where's the garbage man? You don't. I was going to say, you're an inspiration to me, Ken, that listening to your story and everything, that you are have lived such a positive and productive life. And you have a wonderful family, and you feel blessed. Even though there was probably some unpleasantries in your service in Southeast Asia, I mean, you came back and you have had a great life. You had a wonderful relationship with your wife and your children, and so I think you're a person to be commended.
Thank you very much. This has been an awful pleasure for me meeting you personally and conducting this interview. I don't normally like to sit and visit with someone like this, but you make it so easy. It's like we're just two friends talking and having a good time.
Well, I've done a couple when I was at the VSO with some vets down there, and I said, hey, this is just a chat. And this is going to your family anyway, so it's not going out to the public, so whatever you feel comfortable talking to me about, that's fine. If you do not, that is also fine. This is just chat. And I had Air Force guys and Army guys come in, some of them 35, 40 years. Full bird colonel and they just regaled me with stories that were wonderful. And I mean, it was just a snapshot of humanity.
Right.
That even though people are subjected to difficult, challenging events, with a positive attitude and support from friends like what you're talking about. I mean, it sounds like you just had a wonderful relationship with so many people and employers. I think that's a big part in a person's healing and being able to live a good life and go on. It's not to say that, things come back. Same with me.
Yep.
And but you just keep on. You just keep
Exactly,
putting one foot in front of
exactly.
each other and having a smile on your face and enjoying a beautiful day like today.
Yep. And if this is for my family, I want them to know, thank them for everything they did for me. No matter what happens in the future, I want them to know I appreciate them all and love them all. And I want to thank you too.
Well, it's certainly my pleasure, Ken. I just feel blessed. I
Cool.
feel blessed. So,
Thank you.
would you like to wrap it up then?
Please, if we can.
Okay. Well, thank you very much again for coming in and doing this.
I
And,
hope we can do it again.
Absolutely. Anytime. It would be my pleasure. So,
Thank you.
You bet.